Joe Biden vetoed something last week that we talked about a while ago, but he actually did it last week. We'll talk about that. Here we go!
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That isn't actually their name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in on today. A lot of stuff to catch you up on, a lot of fun stuff happening. And by fun stuff, I mean not good for the country, but you know, such is the modern news cycle. I want to get to this thing first off. Joe Biden last week vetoed a bipartisan piece of legislation. I believe that was on June 8th. We talked about it beforehand. We talked about it kind of at the time, but didn't really actually play what's happening. And there are some new updates, so I wanted to tell you about that. I want you to watch this clip from Joe Biden talking about the vetoing of bipartisan legislation. What bipartisan legislation? I'm bearing the lead here. The student loan debt forgiveness nonsense. The student loan repatriation to other taxpayers who didn't have the opportunity to go to college, and only paying off some of the debt from people who went to school in this particular time, but not anyone in the future or anyone in the past. It's a whole bunch of nonsense. The Supreme Court will eventually knock it down, but Congress decided that they were going to get in the way too, and Joe Biden vetoed that attempt. I want you to watch this clip of him vetoing that, and then we've got an update on whether or not, when people might know if their student loan debts are going to be transferred to another taxpayer. Just watch this, and we'll discuss on the other side.
Folks, Republicans in Congress led an effort to pass a bill blocking my administration's plan to provide up to $10,000 in student debt relief and up to $20,000 for borrowers that received a Pell Grant. Nearly 90% of those relief dollars go to people making less than $75,000 a year. I'm not going to back down on my efforts to help tens of millions of working and middle-class families. That's why I'm going to veto this bill. And don't forget, some of the same members of Congress who want to cut student aid personally received loans to keep their small businesses afloat during the pandemic. Some of the same members of Congress who supported this bill voted for huge tax cuts for corporations and the wealthy as well.
I like the whole idea of 90% of people make less than $75,000 a year who are getting these loan forgiveness checks. Just FYI, I'm pretty sure the average American household income, not individual income, household income, is around $60,000, and that doesn't include a lot of different things. So the bottom line is, he's bragging about, this is going to individuals who make around 25% more than the average American household. Sick, dude. I don't know how much support you're going to get for that after that. But here's the update. Biden's student relief plan, this is from The Hill, would eliminate $10,000 for debtors, yada, yada, $20,000 for people who Pell Grant, is still, this is funny, and this is just how it's written, is still at the mercy of the conservative-leaning Supreme Court. I, honest to God, don't think the Supreme Court is going to vote on this on quote-unquote party lines or conservative or liberal lines. I don't think this is going to be a 6-3 vote. I think it's going to be like a 7-2 or even an 8-1 vote. I would imagine Ketanji Brown Jackson, I think she's probably going to vote no. But in terms of, I think Sotomayor, I don't want to speculate on what the Supreme Court is going to do. Bottom line is, they're not going to pass it as constitutional because it's not. And I think it's so not constitutional that even some of the liberal justices are going to come on to the reality side and vote that way. We don't know when the decision is going to be made, but October is when the education department says, yeah, you got to start paying your loans again. There is still a pause on student loan debt payments from 2020. It's going to be 3.5 years before people stopped making these payments. If you're smart, you were still making those payments knowing that none of this was ever going to happen. If you're smart, you should have been making these payments. If you're an American, you should have been making these payments. But if you're smart, you should have been making these payments all along. But for a lot of the people, especially a lot of the Biden voters, who stopped making payments because one, there was no interest accruing, and two, they thought they were going to get quote-unquote bailed out. This is going to be a shock to the system for them. October is the deadline where you have to start paying your student loans back again. You're going to have to pay all of them. Just FYI, knowing that you should operate your life in such fashion. But I think October is going to be an interesting month because you're going to see a lot of people all of a sudden have a couple $100,000 bills they have to pay that they weren't paying and probably weren't accounting for. I wonder how much impact that's going to have on the economy. Because the inflation rate is down to double what it's supposed to be. There's a lot of people yesterday talking about, well, inflation is down and this is good. That is good. Inflation coming down is a good thing. I'm not one of those types of people that entirely says that, you know, the administration is bad at all costs. Like, no, like inflation coming down is good for all Americans. I wish that the Federal Reserve could do it faster. Having said that, the inflation rate is still double what it's supposed to be, even though it is down. I believe it was CBS that was reporting prices are down. This is great news. No, prices are still way up. Prices are up, buying power is still down, but inflation, as it rises out of control, is down. That's the only set of good news. And I do think it is good news. And I think that's good news in spite of what Joe Biden tried to do, not because of him trying to do that. And by that, I mean, the dude tried to spend another $3.5 trillion, which would have jacked up inflation way more than it should have been or could be. Yeah, so there's that.